What's up, nerds? So, I watched True Detectives episode 5 last night, and I have to be honest. Sorry this is late, by the way. I know it came out Friday, but I've been working like crazy at my 9 to 5 and everything. But I'm going to break this sucker down and everything, and then I'll just give you my review of the episode and then my theories, although my theories really haven't changed. And but this episode, I mean, it came back a little bit from the last episode, but this episode I didn't hate it, but I didn't really care for it. I feel like this was the penultimate episode, and I'm just like, okay, like it was just like, I don't know, man. It was very like mid for me. It wasn't awful. I didn't hate it, but at the end of it, but I was just like, oh, okay, let's get to this last episode, see what's going down. I just want to know the ending now. I want to know who killed Annie K and what happened to those scientists, because it wasn't no avalanche or storm. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's break this sucker down. All right, here we go. Julia's body is cremated at the morgue on December 31st, and the ashes are delivered to Navarro in an urn. I thought this part was a little sad. I don't know how, it was very interesting watching to see what goes into cremating a body, but at the same time, I was just like, and I did like it how she was like, thanks for letting me stay with her. And she's like, of course, just don't tell anybody. I was like, that's so sad. I feel really bad for her and everything. Danvers questions Otis over the relationship with Clark, who is unsure of all the events. He relates that he was helping men who were caught in a cave accident when he heard a sound and then lost consciousness. The cave's entrance is near Bear Creek, but Otis warns that she cannot go alone. I did like how she questions him and everything, and then he's like, I can't show you where it is, not in this condition. She's like, I'm not gonna get you drugged, and he's like, well, your time's up then. And I just like how he's like, you're not going to get me high, then fuck off. Danvers and Navarro check the cave. But when they get there, they see the cave entrance is blocked by an avalanche. So when they get to the cave, I was just kind of bummed that I was just like, oh, they're not going to go into the cave right now. Because I was hoping that there would be like a little bit like they like pretty much know what's going on. And the last episode was like trying to duck and, weave to try not to get, killed by the baddies and everything. But no, they got to that cave and it was just like, they were just like, oh, they closed it up on purpose. And I was just like, okay. And I was like, but a small piece of me was all like, was that the cave that Annie K went into and then they closed it up? So it'll be interesting to see everything that's going on and all that stuff. Peter is asked by Kayla to leave their house, forcing him to move back with Hank. I felt bad for Peter in this moment. His wife kicked him out. I mean, I've never had that situation before, but a small piece of me just feels like that she was a little bit, I get where she's coming from, but he's just trying to provide for his family, and a small piece of me just goes, she could be a little bit more sympathetic to that, but at the same time, he could be a little bit more sympathetic to her plight as, hey, I want my son's father around and my husband, and, all he does is spend time at work. So I can see both sides of this argument, but I just feel bad. And kicking him out is not going to solve anything. It's just going to make it worse. So I don't know, but I feel bad for both of them. And yeah. Leah and her girlfriend join a rally to protest outside the Silver Sky mining offices, which soon escalates into a riot. Yeah, so I liked how they're getting ready. I wouldn't have put paint over my face or my mouth. I'm like, what if you get that in your mouth? And you're like, I can't riot like this. I don't know how to feel about this because I don't live. And I don't go to protests and everything. So yeah, police officers are dispatched, including Navarro herself. She is hit by Leah, who is surprised to see her. I was interested to know why Navarro was there. Is this her job also? Because I thought she was like a trooper, not a SWAT person or a riot person. I don't know how the law enforcement works and all that stuff, but I was just like, okay, all right, Navarro's here. She's ready to hang out and all this gear and everything. Leah is then brutally beaten by another officer until Navarro steps in to fight the officer herself. I was happy that Navarro stepped in to save Leah from getting beaten, because I'm sorry. And Leah's girlfriend, she was just like, fuck this noise, I'm out. And then Leah, she's just like getting hit by that baton and everything. Now, I've never been hit by one of those nightsticks that police officers have, but I have been hit with like other things, that shit hurts. So I'm pretty sure she's like, and everything. But I mean, he was like, I mean, the girl was down, okay? She wasn't get back up or whatnot. Navarro, I'm glad she stepped in, but I mean, the fight didn't look that bad. Everybody was all like, yeah, and everything. I was like, this doesn't look that great, but whatever. Per Danvers' instructions, Leah is locked up at the county jail at the station. And then she did get locked up. And I just want to say, as far as her getting locked up, I did like that Peter brought her some snacks or whatever. And then she talked about her Peter and his Kayla and their relationship and everything. And I did like the story about how she said, when Kayla fell in love with you, it's she saw you skate. And he's like, when I won, and she's like, no, it was actually you lost. It's when you fell on your ass and what's-his-face scored on you. And everybody gave you so much shit and you just had that goofy smile on your face. And then she said, but his dad, that kid that scored, his dad had a stroke the day before. And he's like, she's like, did you fall on purpose? And he's like, no. And I was like, Peter's a good dude. And Leah and Kayla should see that he's a good dude. And I mean, I didn't like that Leah was all like, you're an asshole and everything. I'm like, no, he's not. He's not an asshole. I mean, you need, you're not putting yourself in his shoes. And I just wish that she would, but not doing it. But I did like that scene. It was very good. And I did like also when Danvers was all like, you want to come stay with me? And he was all like, no, because that's just a fast track to a divorce. And I was like, that's good. I like that. Peters tells Danvers that he investigated Tuttle United, which is operated alongside Norbank Securities as a founding partner of Silver Sky. They conclude Salal works for Silver Sky, providing fake data. So he gives her the information about the Tuttle United or whatnot, and how Silver Sky was funding Salal, and they were just giving out bogus pollution numbers. And I was like, oh, okay. So, but I was all like, is that why Annie K was killed? Because then I'm just like, this story, this mystery isn't really like as good as I thought it was going to be. So, but we'll see how it turns out and everything. I'm not sure, I don't know if I'm going to like the season finale. We'll see though. I'm definitely going to watch it. That's for sure. Danvers goes to the Silver Sky headquarters to talk to executive Kate McKitterick, who is talking to Conley. Okay, so I liked how Danvers just walks in and the receptionist is all like, she's like, okay. And she goes into that little room to talk to him and everything. And then she's like, that's nice, Danvers, but I want to show you something. Kate is aware of Danvers visiting the cave, questioning her authority as it was property of the company. So she shows her that she went to the cave, and I'm all like, I'm sorry, but I think law enforcement gets to go on your property if they're investigating something. And the Annie K case is just a cold case. It's not closed. So therefore, I think she's still... I don't know how the law works in that kind of instances, but I'm like pretty sure they get to do that stuff. So I don't know. And Danvers accuses Silver Sky of their involvement, prompting Conley to warn her that the case is closed, revealing that he knows the truth about their encounter with William Wheeler. So we find out that Conley knows that Danvers and Navarro set up a suicide thing with the Wheeler guy. And we find out later that he found out because Hank got into Peter's laptop and found out all this information and then told Conley and Kate probably. And they're all in cahoots. Privately, Kate meets with Hank to inform him of the meeting with Danvers, telling him he needs to prevent her from finding out more. So they got together and everything, and I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I'm all like, oh, okay. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that Hank is in cahoots, but I did like he was all like, she's like, we paid you. And he's like, yeah, all that money is gone. Yeah, because he gave it to some rando dude, in Duluth, Minnesota, that was totally scamming him, being all like, I'm a hot Russian bride. You want me to marry you, honey? I don't know why I'm giving him a southern accent if he's from Minnesota. what is the Minnesota accent? Oh, don't you know we're gonna give you a hot time? Yeah, we're Russian and stuff. Yeah, come here, big boy. So he gave all that con person all his money. So he's like, well, I'm gonna need more. All right, for my Polish bride this time. She asks him to kill Otis to prevent progress in the investigation, promising him that he would become police chief. So, she does ask him to kill Otis, but without asking him to kill Otis. She's like, I'm not asking you to kill Otis. What am I asking you? He's like, you are not asking me to kill Otis. And I'm like, oh, that's good. Because they ask him in court and like, did you ask him to kill Otis? She's like, and she can go, I did not ask him to kill Otis. And that's the truth, because she just said, she's like, I'm not asking you to kill Otis. Kavik brings a friend, Kenny, with Navarro. Kenny found a rock with this spiral symbol and was warned by his grandparents to stay away from the caves, as they would go to the night country. So I really like Kavik. I said it before, I'll say it, he's a good dude. He really is. And I'm sorry, Navarro, I really don't like Navarro. I don't hate her, but she's like not, her and Danvers are just people that I would not hang out with. They're too assertive and aggressive, like to the point of obnoxiousness and like no reason. Like they're just angry all the time for no reason, and you're just like, okay, back the fuck up, okay? But Kavik is a good dude, and Navarro does not deserve him as far as I'm concerned. But he brings him that Kenny guy, and he's got that little rock, and he's like, yeah, my grandmother always told me, when you see that, stay away from it, because what it means is like fishermen, what they would do is if the ice was thin, they would put that stone out there, and if you walked on it, it meant the ice would break and you'd fall into the caves. And she always said that if you fall in those caves, you're going to the night country. And I was like, so the night country is just caves. Navarro wants to continue the case, but Danvers warns her to stop, as Conley will prevent anything. So when these two were talking, and she's like, just drop it and everything, I was all like, this kind of sucks that they have to put a kibosh on it because Conley knows what they did to that Wheeler guy. But at the same time, I'm just all like, don't give up. I mean, they can't prove anything, you know? So I'm just like, you know, we'll see, but I just wish they, like, but at the same time, they keep going. So we'll see what happens. Angry, Navarro decides to release Leah from her cell. With help from Rose, Navarro shatters the ice grounds just as a storm approaches. So she goes to Rose to have her take her to the ocean. But it's all just one big big slab of ice and everything. I'm pretty sure eventually it'll turn into water. But she goes and she's all like, to put her sister's ashes in the ocean. She's like, I figured you wanted to be in the ocean, baby girl. So, and then she dumps her ashes in the ocean. Navarro starts to hallucinate and almost falls into the ice as it shattered. And then she starts to hallucinate, right? And so she's like walking out onto the ocean or the sea. I think I'll say the ocean. It might be a sea, right? Where they're at. But, and she starts hallucinating about Afghanistan, and then Rose is all like, what are you doing? And then you see the ice crack a little bit, which I thought was a cool effect. And then she's all like, lay down. And then she pulls her, she's like, what were you doing? I was calling you. You were just walking out into the sea and everything. And I was like, ooh, this is good. This is good. Because I thought she'd fall into a cave, but she didn't. Realizing that Hank informed Conley of the investigation, Danvers accuses Peter of telling him. Peter instead questions her of her role on Wheeler's death, having concluded that the evidence was forged in the victim's file. Like I said before, Hank hacked into Peter's computer, and he found out all the information that he has on Navarro and Danvers and the Wheeler case. He asks if she and Navarro killed him and then staged his death, which she doesn't confirm, but congratulates him for asking the right questions. So I liked how Peter, when she's like, ask the questions. And he starts asking her, and he asks her about, did you know? And finally he asks the right question. He's like, did you know that William Wheeler was left-handed? She's like, I did not know that. And we find out that somebody went through all of the files of the case and flipped the pictures of the victim because she had a birthmark. And then they had shot, Wheeler had ended himself on his right side. And if you're left-handed, you wouldn't do that. So they had to change everything. And so he figured it all out. And she's like, finally, you asked the right questions. And I thought that was good. I like Peter. I like Peter a lot. He's a good character. Danvers gets Otis out of the hospital and calls Navarro to meet up. Danvers takes Otis to her house. So she gets Otis finally out of the hospital, right? And I like how he's all like, well, first he's all like, show me the stuff. Show me. And she shows him and he's all like, yeah. And he's like, let me get my coat. And they get in the truck and he's like, yeah, give me a hit now. And she's like, you're not doing drugs in my car. And he's like, well, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
I'm letting you get high in my truck in public?
Then fuck you and fuck your cave.
And she's like, listen. She's like, you're coming with me, buddy, if you want this good stuff and everything. And I'm just like, man, Danvers, you're all in on this, man. I'm telling you what. Bribing him with drugs for information. She then gets a visit by Hank, who claims that he needs to take Otis on Conley's orders, and he takes Danvers' gun, and upon noticing Otis, executes him with 2 gunshots. So while she's at her house, she just gives this dude the drugs, and he's like lighting up in her bathroom. And then Hank comes over, right, because he's working for Conley and Kate, or mostly Kate, and he gets her gun, which I'm all like, hey, dummy. As soon as she took it off, I was like, why would you take your gun off right now? What's going on? And then Hank shows up. I was like, oh, I was like, that's a bad choice. She shouldn't have taken her gun off and everything. And then, he shoots the Otis guy, which I'm all like, man, that sucks for them. Peter arrives pointing a gun and is pressured by Hank to help him. Hank admits he moved Annie's body and prepares to aim his gun at Danvers, prompting Peter to shoot him in the head, killing him. So Peter arrives and he gets, he's all like, Hank's all like, I told you blood is thicker than water. And he points his gun towards Danvers, like he's going to shoot her. And Peter shoots him right in the head. And I'm like, that had to be hard for him because that was his dad. And I get it, they weren't close and everything. But still, that's your dad. He was talking about how, like, when Peter was a little, earlier, he was talking about how Peter was a little boy and he had fallen through the ice. And he used a pick to get ahead of him and get him out of the ice. And I was like, yeah, when you're a parent, you'll do anything for your kids. But like, man, I was just like, did you have to shoot him in the head? And I just wonder what kind of trauma that's going to bring to Peter now that he killed his dad. It's probably not going to be good. Danvers consoles the shaken Peter as Navarro arrives, and Navarro refuses to get Conley involved for Peter's safety and prepares to set off the scene as an accidental death. I also did like how Danvers tried to console Peter on the death of his father. Like, we can't leave him like this, because now I wonder if he's going to do something to himself because he killed his father. And Leah said it before, and I didn't mention it till now. I'm going to mention now that Danvers, she hurts the ones that she cares about. So she obviously cares about Peter, and she's just not nice to him. So it's like one of those things where she's not nice to people that she really likes. But they leave. And Peter's going to clean it up because Navarro's all like, you clean it up. You know how to do it. You do it good and everything. And then they leave. Danvers reluctantly agrees, but Peter decides to clean the scene while Navarro and Danvers leave for the caves. And that's the end of the episode, you guys. So they're on their way to the caves. Like I said before, I don't know how to feel about this episode because I didn't hate it, but I was kind of hoping it to be a little bit more, if you will. I was just maybe it's my expectations were too high for this penultimate episode, but like, I'm not as excited or as like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like I was like the first 2 episodes. It's not that I hated it. I just didn't, at the end of the day, I was just like, okay, it's fine. Let's see what happens in this last one. So acting wise, again, everybody's doing a good job. Even the background characters doing a good job. I really like Jodie Foster in this, man. Jodie Foster, what a talent. That woman, I mean, maybe this is her big comeback. She's trying to get back into the limelight and everything. And if she's doing a good job on this show, at least, because I enjoy her acting very much. I was like, man, you get these seasoned actors and you're just like, they need to do a master class in how to act like this, because she's doing a great job. Callie Reis is also doing a good job as Navarro, but I just don't like either one of these characters, Danvers or Navarro. But she's doing a good job. I like the emotion that she shows on her face when it comes to her sister. Like, she's sad, but she's trying to stay strong, and I like that a lot. Like, you can see that on her face. Like, she's hurting, but she's trying not to let it out. And I'm like, you know what, Callie Reis, I don't know you from anything else, but you're doing a good job on this show. I appreciate it. And then as far as, okay, so my review of this is just, it was an okay episode and everything. It was very meh. But theories time. I'm still keeping my theories. That redhead showed up again. I don't remember her name off the top of my head. It was like Dawn or something. I can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry, you guys. I wrote it down in my notes last time. I didn't write it down this time. But the redhead, she showed up at the laundromat when Kavik brings Kenny over to tell him about the stone and everything. So she's listening, but I think she has something to do with it. I really do. I think she has something to do with it. And I think we're going to see it later on. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I'm telling you, that redhead has something to do with it. I'm telling you. I think she killed Annie K. That's my theory on that. I think that the redhead killed Annie K. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's because she slept with her boyfriend, because she's got that whatever that symptom is called, where the victim sympathizes with their captor kind of thing. And I also think that the bear, when they say that she's awake, I think that's the polar bear. I think that they had that in the Salal station. They were experimenting on it, and they were keeping it drowsed up and everything. I do think also that they're hallucinating from something in the water. The town is. And I may be wrong on that part now that I'm thinking about it, but I'm keeping with these theories, and hopefully it all works out. And all right, you guys, tell me what you guys thought about this, because I talked too much, but tell me what you guys thought about this. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are you like me and you thought it was okay, but it just wasn't the best penultimate episode? And I wish they maybe had tacked on another two episodes just to really flesh things out a little bit more, but maybe it'll all work out in the end. I just hope the last episode isn't rushed. You know what I'm saying? Just to get all the information out. So it's just, just information. But tell me what you guys think. Go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on my next True Detective breakdown and review. You guys have a good week. Bye.